Link TV, connecting you to the world. Link TV is viewer supported. Watch more at linktv.org.
Link TV presents Mosaic World News from the Middle East. Here are today's top stories.
US scrambles to salvage Mideast peace talks. Pakistani drone victims demand compensation from the US. And thousands march for human rights in Tel Aviv. Mosaic World News from the Middle East begins now.
هذا ويصادف موعد تسليم جائزة نوبل ذكرى الإعلان العالمي لحقوق الإنسان.
The ceremony awarding the Nobel Peace Prize coincided with International Human Rights Day. The day is celebrated around the world. From central Tel Aviv, thousands of Israeli and Arab participants took place in a demonstration organised by about 130 human rights groups. They protested against the racist and discriminative policies the Israeli government practices against the 1.5 million Arabs there. Al Jazeera correspondent Ilyas Karam has the details.
Drums are being beaten in this war against racism. Arabs and Jews were gathered for one mission, to fight the rampant racism in Israel. From central Tel Aviv, 10,000 people took place in a march, saying, "Enough, things are getting out of control now."
We are united against racism and undemocratic legislation. We are for social justice, civil equality, and ending the occupation.
The vulnerable social stratums in Israel are Sephardic Jews and Falashas who suffer from racist policies. The Africans from Sudan and Eritrea immigrated to Israel in search of a life they believed would be decent, but what they found here are brutal living conditions and deportation threats, even though their social positions varied.
We suffer from a lack of education and we want health care. We have little hope and very few job opportunities.
Elements of the Israeli right wing infiltrated the protest. Their slogans say, "We won't let the left wing distort Israel's image."
We came to tell the Israeli left wing that they should first pay attention to what is happening to the people in Sderot, where Qassam rockets are falling on them.
A voice here rose against the rabbi's fatwa that forbid Jews from selling or renting homes to Arabs or non-Jewish people. They are also protesting the demolishment of Arab houses, the loyalty to the Jewish state law, changing Arabic city names into Hebrew on street signs, and many others.
The racism in Israel is no longer the position of those who patrol the streets. It has become a fundamental position that dominates its government, judicial system, and security institutions. In contrast, there is growing opposition to this racism, and today's demonstration is the best response to it.
The truth is that the voice against racism is the voice of the minorities in Israel, but it is a strong voice. As the organizers say, they are here to challenge the extent of racism that is becoming the mainstream for behavior and mentality of a majority of Israelis. So which will win in the end? The racist apartheid or full equality? The Jewish state or a state for all its citizens? Justice or injustice? Many are asking these questions, and only time will tell. Ilyas Karam, Al Jazeera, Tel Aviv.
بعد تخليها عن تجميد الاستيطان كشرط لاستئناف مفاوضات السلام الفلسطينية الإسرائيلية.
After dropping the settlement freeze as a condition for the resumption of Israeli-Palestinian peace talks, the US administration is getting ready to announce what it referred to as a new strategy to revive the stalled peace process and help preserve its role as a peace sponsor. Details of the new strategy will be unveiled tonight by US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who met yesterday in Washington with Israeli chief negotiator Isaac Molho. Clinton is also scheduled to meet with Palestinian Prime Minister Salam Fayyad, Palestinian chief negotiator Saeb Erekat, and Israeli Defense Minister Ehud Barak.
وتتواصل مع وزير الدفاع الإسرائيلي إيهود باراك. وإيهود باراك الذي يتحرك في اتجاه تسويق الموقف الإسرائيلي تجاه العملية.
Ehud Barak met earlier with UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon in New York City. Barak is seeking to promote his country's position on the peace process. He urged Ki-moon to use his influence to persuade both the Israeli and the Palestinian sides to put the settlement issue behind them and resume negotiations, adding that he hopes they will be able to find a new formula to move the peace process forward. For his part, Ki-moon expressed concern over the construction of settlements in the West Bank, stressing that breaking the diplomatic impasse and resuming the negotiations are very critical.
تجديده على أن كسر المأزق الدبلوماسي الحالي واستئناف المفاوضات أمر حيوي.
I believe we have to go over and beyond.
I believe we have to go over and beyond the hurdles of the second moratorium that somehow could not be delivered and move beyond it to direct negotiations about the core issues in order to move forward. We hope that a formula of this nature will be found in the coming weeks in order to enable us to keep moving forward. I asked the Secretary General to use the influence the UN enjoys with all of the players in the region to take this issue into consideration.
الاستراتيجية الأمريكية المرتقبة لإحياء مفاوضات السلام قد لا تحمل جديدا.
Aside from dropping the issue of a settlement freeze, the US strategy will not likely bring anything new to the peace process. US State Department spokesman Philip Crowley said in a statement yesterday that his administration is convinced that the issue of the settlement freeze doesn't provide a solid platform to resume the negotiations, adding that this will not change his country's position on the construction of settlements. Crowley said that Washington rejects the illegal construction of settlements. He spoke about a series of meetings to be held in the coming days, including a visit to the region next week by US Mideast envoy George Mitchell.
يجريها الأسبوع المقبل مبعوث السلام جورج ميتشل إلى المنطقة. وتغيير الموقف الأمريكي من موضوع الاستيطان والبحث عن
The shift in the US position on the settlement issue and the efforts to find a new platform for the relaunch of negotiations reflected a US stand, as confirmed by former Israeli Defense Minister Shaul Mofaz, who is currently on a visit to Washington. Mofaz said that freezing settlement activities as a precondition for the resumption of talks was a mistake from the beginning on the part of Israel and the US, adding that this has become an obstacle to the peace process.
The U.S. has not blamed Israel or the Palestinians for the breakdown in efforts to relaunch direct peace talks. However, other members of the International Peacemaking Quartet, which includes the European Union, the United Nations, and Russia, were quick to point a finger at Israel. EU Foreign Policy Chief Catherine Ashton expressed regret that Israel did not accept an extension of the settlement moratorium. Ashton said that in the eyes of the EU, the settlements are illegal under international law and are an obstacle to peace. In addition, a group of 26 former European leaders sent a letter to the EU calling for strong measures against Israel in response to its settlement policies. The signatories included former heads of state and ministers who support the Palestinian effort to rally international support for an independent Palestinian state. They also demanded that all existing bilateral agreements between Israel and the EU be contingent upon Israeli settlement freeze in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Meanwhile, a senior U.S. lawmaker has sharply condemned moves by Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay to recognize a unilateral declaration of Palestinian statehood. Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, the incoming chairwoman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, characterized the decision as horrible and said that it sets a terrible precedent. The Florida Republican told the French news agency AFP that the endorsement sends the wrong message to the Palestinian Authority because it tells them that they don't need to reform, make peace with Israel, or fight Arab extremists. PA President Mahmoud Abbas has asked Latin American governments to recognize a Palestinian state after suspending direct talks with Israel. The Palestinian Authority is reportedly considering stopping coordinated security efforts with Israel after the Netanyahu government refused to agree to another settlement moratorium. The newspaper Al-Quds Al-Arabi reported today that the PA is also deciding if it will cancel its other commitments to Israel, including helping to thwart terrorist attacks. Joining me now from our Tel Aviv studio to share his political insight is Middle East analyst Dr. Raanan Giesing. Dr. Giesing, good evening.
Good evening, Ariel, to you and to our local and international viewers.
Thank you. Dr. Giesing, in a few hours, the U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is going to give a speech in which she's expected to outline how America hopes to push peace efforts forward. What should we expect from her speech, and what policy should we expect?
Well, you know, Ariel, in computers as well as in diplomacy, sometimes when the program does not work very well, you need to restart. So you restart the computer, you also have to restart this program, which did not work very well. In other words, the freeze on settlement did not result in the fruits that the United States wanted. The Arab countries did not come to the support of the United States. The Arab countries did not come to stand by the United States with regard to Iran. And definitely it didn't move the Palestinians back to the negotiating table that we had a whole year. So there's a reassessment now, and I think the United States faces real serious problems. There's a full plate, that Hillary Clinton and President Obama have to deal with. There's the Korean crisis, there's the WikiLeaks, which embarrassment turning into, I would say, some notion that the United States is weaker today. So the United States has to deal with that, which means that the right thing to do now is put the negotiations, the Israeli-Palestinian negotiations, on the back burner, get it back into quiet diplomacy, maybe shuttle diplomacy, and this is, by the way, an opportunity for Benjamin Netanyahu and for the Israeli government to come with some constructive ideas that President Obama can later use as his own ideas, because this is a time of reassessment. So I say, yes, there is a breakdown sort of in the talks, but from every crisis of this sort, there is an opportunity, and this is the right time to exploit it, I believe.
At least 14 people were killed in a suicide bombing near a hospital located on the outskirts of Hangu in northwestern Pakistan. Pakistani police did not verify whether the bombing also injured about 20 people or not.
قالت مصادر أمنية باكستانية إن 4 مسلحين على الأقل قتلوا في غارة أمريكية.
Pakistani security sources said that at least 4 militants were killed in a U.S. drone strike in the tribal region in northwestern Pakistan. Meanwhile, representatives of Pakistani tribes have started suing a U.S. intelligence agency in Pakistani courts, demanding compensation for their family members who were killed or injured in U.S. airstrikes where they live.
Sadullah is a 15-year-old boy who wants compensation from the US after he lost his legs in an air raid by a drone in southwestern Pakistan. Sadullah joined these protesters outside the Pakistani parliament. One of the protesters was Saddam.
Two missiles hit our home and killed 2 of my family members. I don't know why they targeted us. We are not militants.
الطائرات الأمريكية دون طيار تواصل شن غارات على المناطق القبلية في باكستان.
US drones have been launching airstrikes in the tribal regions of Pakistan for 5 years now. The United States said it killed high-ranking Taliban leaders. But lawyers say that the strikes have killed many civilians.
أوقعت كثيرا من الضحايا المدنيين.
What is happening here is an American citizen comes to Pakistan to kill a Pakistani citizen. These are murder cases.
The
protesters directed criticism at the United States and accused Pakistani officials of complicity.
جدد مدعي المحكمة الجنائية لويس مورينو أوكامبو اتهام الرئيس السوداني.
International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor Luis Moreno Ocampo has renewed allegations against Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir. Ocampo holds al-Bashir responsible for the massacres committed against Sudanese civilians in the region of Darfur. In a special session on Sudan at the UN Security Council, Ocampo urged the African Union and the Arab League to help in the arrest of al-Bashir. The international prosecutor accused Khartoum of providing protection to the perpetrators of the genocide, saying that Khartoum failed to probe the crimes committed in the region. Ocampo further said that the situation in Darfur is not only a humanitarian crisis, but a systematic attack on civilians there.
قال نواب برلمانيون سودانيون إن اللجنة التشريعية في البرلمان حريصة على التعاون مع
In another development, Sudanese members of parliament said the legislative committee expressed willingness to cooperate with the South Sudan Referendum Commission to ensure polling success and fairness. This news comes after the MPs visited the commission's headquarters to assess the preparation level. The Referendum Commission said it will publish the preliminary voters registry on December 10th. It added that the turnout of registered voters in the north was below 42%, but in the south the number was very large.
كان العدد كبيرا جدا. دعا رئيس ساحل العاج المنتهي ولايته لوران Gbagbo.
Amidst mounting international pressure, outgoing Ivory Coast President Laurent Gbagbo invited his rival Alassane Ouattara for talks. From the presidential palace, Gbagbo said that a war will not erupt in the Ivory Coast. Gbagbo's decision comes after the African Union suspended the Ivory Coast from the League until Gbagbo hands over authority to Alassane Ouattara, who was declared the winner of the runoff by the election committee. Gbagbo is facing international pressure to step down and hand over authority to Ouattara. Ouattara enjoys broad international support, especially after the election committee declared him the winner of the presidential elections. However, the Presidential Council, which is close to Gbagbo, overturned Ouattara's victory and declared Gbagbo the country's president.
Thousands of people have staged a demonstration in Azerbaijan to protest a ban on wearing headscarves at schools. Clashes erupted when police used tear gas and batons to disperse the crowd. Several protesters were arrested. The demonstrators gathered in front of the country's Ministry of Education in Baku, calling for the overturn of the decision. They slammed the government for violating the rights of those who wear the Islamic veil or hijab. They say the country's constitution allows Muslim students the freedom to wear headscarves. On Thursday, Azerbaijan's education minister banned wearing the hijab at schools, describing it as nonsense and abnormal. Muslims form 98% of the country's population. Bahrain is being accused of violating human rights. President of the Bahrain Center for Human Rights, Nabil Rajab, was detained at the airport earlier this year as he was about to fly out to Greece. He has criticized the Manama government for what he calls systematic torture of prisoners.
It was very clearly seen by each and every lawyer and their family, the marks of torture in their body. They were tortured really severely. They were electrocuted, religious figure, human rights defender, politician. They were electrocuted, sexually assaulted and harassed and tortured. So you could see the marks, and those marks were pictured by cameras of the telephone of many members of their family. That's why the lawyer kept asking the judge to investigate on those allegations of torture. But judge kept quiet all the time, which means they don't want to investigate. Yes, torture in this country is systematically. It's from the highest authority, the highest decision-making body in this country to the smallest security body. It is systematic. It is organized. Many human rights organizations talked about it.
A terrorist group was dismantled in Iraq. It was the largest media organization al-Qaeda was using to promote its ideologies and publish statements and video reports of its operations.
This electronic media network run by Arab nationals is considered the equivalent to a Ministry of Information with which al-Qaeda tries to legitimize its crimes.
عمليات الضربة القاصمة التي نفذتها قيادة قوات فرقة المشاة الثانية في الموصل.
Operation Blow, carried out by commanders of the 2nd Mushata Brigade in Mosul, resulted in dismantling Al-Furqan media organization, which is affiliated with al-Qaeda. The media network is the central administration for al-Qaeda's psychological and media wars aimed at influencing young people inside and outside of Iraq with video and audio instructions, in addition to soliciting financial sponsorship for al-Qaeda cells. Security forces managed to kill the head of the group, Abdulaziz Atak Saleh al-Atak, nicknamed Abu Suhaib al-Saudi. 12 Iraqi and Arab elements working within the organization were arrested. The forces also confiscated a number of important documents, computers, and telecommunication devices that the organization used.
التي كانت تعمل بها المؤسسة.
هذه المؤسسة تعتبر هي بمثابة وزارة الإعلام.
This organization is considered the equivalent of a Ministry of Information for the so-called Islamic State of Iraq, and it also is considered a major source of electronic recruitments and financial sponsorships for terrorist operations. It also promoted al-Qaeda messages using media networks that chose its materials for publication.
تضطر أن تستخدم هذه الوثائق لأنها لا توجد مثلا وثائق تعرض في مكان آخر.
محمد محمود محمد صافي لقب بوشي.
My name is Mohammed Mahmoud Mohammed Safi. My nickname is Bushi. I'm a Syrian native of Aleppo. I lived in the Sahel Din region. My rank was the Emir of the Souk district, which includes the neighborhoods of Bab al-Dob, Bab al-Baid, and areas around it.
أحمد عبد السلام أحمد مواليد 1973.
Ahmed Abdul Salam Ahmed, born in 1973 in Estancia City, Morocco.
إلى العراق دخلت إلى العراق على طريق ربيعة.
I came to Iraq through Rabia. Then I was transferred to Tarmiya Saidi.
إلى طرمية سيدي.
وزارة الدفاع وفي مؤتمرها الصحفي عرضت تسجيلا مصورا لعدد من
At a press conference, the Ministry of Defense showed videos of a number of young women who were victimized by the backward terrorist ideology. Groups who harbored Arab infiltrators sold these women to them. The result is broken families and children with no official documentation.
لا يحملون الوثائق الرسمية.
البعض الذي يمثل حاضنة رخيصا لهذه التنظيمات قام ببيع تلك الفتيات العراقيات.
Those who harbored these organizations sold these Iraqi women to the criminals. This resulted in children without official documentation and broken families because members of the terrorist groups married these girls illegally without any contract. When they had children, the children had no official documentation to prove they are Iraqi citizens or to even prove their existence.
ولا توجد لديه وثيقة إثبات وجوده أنه مواطن عراقي أو طفل مولود.
My brother was suffering from a mental disorder. He married me to Hussein in Qadisiyah. He came to my home to ask for my hand in marriage, but I didn't like him. On the day of my engagement, I told my family I didn't want him. Then my brother said, "No way, we have to give you to him." I started crying and I said I didn't want to. My brother forced me to marry him. I swear to God I don't want him.
I told him, "You don't look like you're from around here. Where exactly are you from?" I was afraid if I left him, he would come find me and kill me.
انخفاض عدد المتسللين من خارج العراق ما بين 60 إلى 80.
The number of infiltrators coming to Iraq has decreased from 60 to 80 every month to 5 or 10 infiltrators a month. This shows al-Qaeda is fading in Iraq after it discovered that the country of the two rivers cannot be a breeding ground for its criminal and destructive ideologies. From inside the headquarters of the Ministry of Defense in Baghdad, Ala al-Khafaji, al-Iraqiyya TV.
قناة العراقية.
The 92nd session of the Council of Arab Economic Unity was launched at the Arab League under the leadership of Ambassador Mohammed al-Rabi', the Secretary General of the Council. The meeting addressed general policies to expand the work of the Council and discuss the economic report that reviews Arab and international economic growth.
With the approaching date of the Arab Economic Summit in Sharm el-Sheikh, Arab corporations rushed to rally support for initiatives that encourage investment. On this note, the 92nd session of the Council of Arab Economic Unity was launched, discussing the numerous ways to grow Arab economies.
We presented a framework to the Arab Economic Summit. It includes the economic sector at the Arab League and 4 Arab organizations: the Arab Labor Organization, the Arab Organization for Industrial Development, the Arab Organization for Administrative Development, and the Council of Economic Unity. And thank God we presented a good framework that addresses the work that needs to be completed with the support of small and medium enterprises, and prepared full programs that will be presented to the Economic Council in anticipation of the summit that will be held on December 22nd.
We hope the Arab Customs Union will be accomplished because it is the next step after establishing an Arab free trade zone. The next step is the Customs Union. The third step is the establishment of an Arab common market.
The Council reviewed the economic report and discussed Arab investment plans and upcoming Arab modernization policies in light of the new strategy, in addition to the mechanism of the Arab Customs Union.
The Arab economic goal will be achieved step by step, just like how the European Union developed. There are steps that we must go through in order to reach the final phase, including economic unity and an Arab common market.
The meeting specified the focus of the next phase: full implementation of regulations in the Arab Free Trade Zone, protecting the freedom of movement of Arab individuals and capital, supporting the developing Arab industries, paying more attention to the transportation of supplies by land and sea, and building a network of railways between the Arab countries. For 65 years, the Arabs have been searching for a seemingly impossible future of economic cooperation and a common market. Perhaps the Arab Economic Summit in Kuwait was a real beginning for their economic program. Will it continue to work, and will Arabs be able to transcend their historic economic problems? Or will they intentionally remain outside of the societies and communities that have positive effects in the 21st century? From the Arab League, Ashalu Abudo, Nile TV.
The views expressed on Mosaic are from contributing broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible from support of viewers like you. Thank you. Watch Mosaic World News online. Stay up to date with breaking news. Read our blog. Get transcripts of past shows and more at linktv.org/mosaic.
This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.